Return of the Spark, Return of the Jedi, Return of the Ranger, or well, actually, it's episode 8. No, it's still episode 4. Yeah, I don't know. We're live to our whole no audience out there so far. But hey, who cares? We're just having fun here. That's all. That's all that matters. We have Ranger or Tom Kearns.
Hey.
Yeah, there you go. You have to talk to get the camera on you. And we have Brian, also known as Spark.
Yep, I'm here. Let me make sure I'm on Wi-Fi.
Hey, Brian, you might want to say something. Stop fixing to work on your hair.
No, he was.
Yeah, I am saying something. Can you not hear me?
It's either that or he's just moving his lips, so it's not like shifting it to him.
Oh man, that's bad.
Y'all can't hear me? Not at all. I see audio.
Can you hear us? Say something.
All right, can you hear me now?
All right,
this is the best part. We can talk trash and he can't say anything.
I know.
It works.
I don't have him on mute either. That's the awesome thing. He just can't actually hear anything. You can't hear him at all.
It shows right here when he's talking.
I just muted myself.
See the little green dots go up when he talks. Well, now I don't see him.
No, I don't see those green dots either. I can see his face in the little try spot down here, but I can't see it. But he's just looking at us like
trapped in a box.
Yes.
Okay, I can't hear you.
See his sign language.
I can't hear you.
I think that means he can hear us.
Brian, try again.
Try what? This?
Oh, there you go.
There you go.
Your volume somehow got turned all the way to 0, and it wasn't me who did it. It wasn't me who did it. I promise.
I don't know. I tried to plug my phone in so I wouldn't run out of battery during all this. So maybe that screwed it up. I don't fucking know.
Well, this episode we want to talk all about the pop culture and the greatest media event of all time, the Orville. Dun dun dun. No, okay. I do want to talk about the Orville, and I want to talk about Last Jedi. So for anybody who wants to watch us, who hasn't seen the Last Jedi, let's talk about the Orville real quick. That's going to be a quick one between Brian and I.
And if you haven't seen the Orville yet, go fucking
yeah, your volume is back to crap now.
Okay, how is this? Is this better?
Yes, it is actually better.
Okay, well now you can see right up my fucking nose.
So what do we want to talk about with the Orville? Let's just say that it's a very interesting show, very intriguing concept. It's basically Star Trek Next Generation, except for
the
Brian,
acting.
You like this better? You like the show better than I do? You go for it.
I enjoyed the hell out of it. It was Next Generation Star Trek with everyday humor. It wasn't prim and proper, stuffed shirts, Shakespeare quoting, Star Trek. It was, Star Trek for the guy with the crew that's, the crew at that's delivering pizzas, so to speak. I thought it was funny. I thought for what it was, I was expecting nothing out of the show and wound up absolutely looking forward to it. It's nice to see positive sci-fi, non-stressful,
stuff that takes itself too seriously.
Well, not just taking itself too seriously, non-gritty sci-fi, ever since Battlestar Galactica, which, hey, I'm not gonna knock, loved it. But ever since then, everybody's been going for that ultra gritty, down and dirty, sci-fi where it's always tense and everything's like going to hell all the time. And it's nice to not have that. It's nice to have a show that has that positive outlook, so to speak, that the older Star Treks had. The sense of adventure, the sense of wonder, versus the sense of, oh my god, we're gonna fucking die.
Right.
You know,
The one episode that I think that even if you don't like it, and Tom, you might want to check this one out. There's a Reddit episode out there where these people have these buttons on them that have an upvote and a downvote. And if you get downvotes, you get basically lobotomized, I guess it is. And
it's fucking scary, is what it is.
But it's so hilariously true to life now, though.
Unfortunately, it is. Yeah, I mean, it. I was uncomfortable watching it. If that tells you anything.
Yes,
I was saying
watching
this comes too close to reality for me to actually, enjoy that. And some parts of it were, I mean, Lamar down there humping the statue that gets them into the situation was kind of really.
That was like the worst worst 3,000 downvotes you could possibly. It was like he was humping a religious statue of some kind.
Right. And the thing is, and Tom, if you haven't watched it,
yeah, I get to.
4 episodes. The first episode is rough. I'll give it that. It's a bunch of shoehorned jokes in that it felt totally out of place. But as it went on in the series, it got progressively better. By the end of the 12th episode, it was like I really, really enjoyed that. So it was a nice break of something to listen to watch.
Yeah.
So, I'm trying to keep an eye on the little bars on the screen here in case you're wondering. So I know if you guys are actually hearing me.
Right. Well, we can hear you, unfortunately.
Yeah. Well, you're the one that invited me, so fuck you.
All right. With that out of the way, let's talk about Last Jedi and warning viewers, spoilers from here on out. So if you haven't seen it, don't want to see it, don't want to know anything, turn it off now. Although,
and frankly, if you haven't seen it yet, can you call yourself a Star Wars fan?
If you haven't seen it by now, you don't give a fuck. Let's be honest.
So true. All right. So, Tom, what did you think of it? Go.
I thought it was good. I thought that they're ending characters, so I thought it did. Well, there's already spoilers, so it does Luke Skywalker justice. I thought it was a good way for him to go out. So I enjoyed it.
Not to mention Admiral Akbar. Not to mention Snoke. And they went full Game of Thrones on us.
I'm really getting tired of Star Wars and the villain thing. It's like you create a really good villain and they get like 20 seconds, 10 seconds of screen time.
Okay, I'm sorry. Can we go back to how he was a good evil villain? He forgot his role number one of being a Sith.
Yeah, no, I mean they didn't even put they could have put a lot of energy and stuff into him and made him really cool, like the ring on his finger, did the backstory for that, but they never did. It's like, and he's gone. And
that's why it was so shockingly good.
Yeah, but it just tells you that a lot of the stuff is going to come to a close at the end of the next movie and open it up for the new Disney generation of Star Wars. Because you won't have those characters around. That plot will essentially be finished, and they can move on to other stuff.
Right.
Which is a good thing and a bad thing, but so.
All right, Brian, what do you think?
It was I like the movie. I'll put it out there. I don't mind the characters. I don't mind. So what?
The joke on Reddit is, I like that Star Wars Last Jedi, fight me.
Yeah. Well, I think it goes mostly like, I like The Last Jedi, but and there is a huge but in here. And I think we're going to revisit an argument here in a few minutes. a long-standing feud we've had, so to speak. I like the character progression. I liked a lot of it, but I still have some problems with the storylines used to get the characters where they are. I like the idea of the movie, the push towards jettisoning so much of the old baggage, and moving it into this other, this moving forward universe, getting rid of, the Skywalker Jedi, the whole notion of everything that a lot of which was put in the prequels, not so much the original trilogy, but all of that got a lot of that got jettisoned out. I do have problems with, like I said, some of the storylines to get them there. A lot of it just on the surface it's really cool, but just does not make much sense, even with Star Wars physics, even with that, even with taking in the universe stuff. I mean, we've seen a proton torpedo fired down the hull of the Death Star. Okay, I get that, but then you're telling me that the Resistance has to fly these incredibly slow. I mean, slow-ass bombers to drop bombs in space where there's no gravity.
And no one can hear you scream.
Right around this one ship.
Let me stop you right there, Brian. That's the same gravity that was pulling the Iron Man back through that wormhole to Earth. That's what that was. That's where that gravity came from.
No, not necessarily. Not necessarily. No, and I'll actually give you an excuse for that. I'll give you an excuse for the gravity. We know that all the ships in the Empire, in the Star Wars universe, have internal gravity dampeners. There's gravity on the ships. People aren't floating around the ships. That creates a field around the ships, which made the bombs be able to fall. They were ejected out with force from the bomber, where the ship's internal gravity dampeners pulled it down onto it. I will accept that. I'll accept that part. Why the fuck were these things so slow?
Not only that, what kind of freaking tactics were they having with the fighters alongside the bombers? You send the fighters in first to get all the TIE fighters and the batteries out. Then you send in the bombers to keep so that they don't get hit by the tactics were completely wrong. I'm sorry, the tactics were horrible.
The mechanics of it bothered me. The whole, and we're going to skip forward here. They're chasing the rebel ships as they run out of fuel. Well, again, let's go back. You're in space. There's no resistance. Once you accelerate, you're going to stay at that speed of acceleration.
And continue to keep going that.
Exactly. As long as you continue adding thrust, you're going to go faster. Again, Star Wars physics is not real physics. I get that. But yet you still have the rebel ships outrunning the Empire ships. Well, why didn't they just jump ahead of them and cut them off? They had a whole fleet of Star Destroyers with hyperdrives, and they're sitting there going, chug, chug, chug. Oh, we can't get in front of them. It was plot contrivances, stuff that could have been easily rectified and still gotten them where they wanted to go, but with much more solid storytelling. And that's what I had.
And I will see that point. I agree completely. There are certain things they could have done better, but at the end of the day, it was a kick-ass film.
At the end of the day, if you take all that out, and again, I can, unlike with Gravity, I can do that because this is Star Wars. It's not set in a real universe. I can eliminate a lot of that and say I enjoyed the fuck out of it. And the crash scene with what's her name, Laura Dern's character, Holdo, with the calamari cruiser. That was fucking magnificent.
Yes.
That was fucking magnificent to see.
Let me interrupt you there. I hope both of y'all know. You remember from Rogue One, you had that Admiral Raddus, right?
Yeah, that was the name of the ship that she crashed.
Yeah, that was the name of the ship too. It was the Raddus, which is I did not know at the time of the movie.
No, I actually, did research when I got home, and that popped up that, it was Admiral Raddus who led the, the final fight in the end of Rogue One, and Akbar to honor him named that ship Raddus.
Right.
So, but yeah, no, I thought that was cool. It's like, so she hits warp speed and she goes through the ship. It's like, finally.
That's the entire fleet, the entire First Order fleet.
So it's obvious she wasn't at full hyper speed yet. I'm guessing. So that was still pretty cool. And actually, I have an answer for your bombers as well. Why they're so slow?
They're frigates. But.
So So as we all know, Imperial ships have shields, right? So you fire something too fast. What was it? There was some show. I don't remember where it was, but like somebody had it was in Stargate. It was in Stargate SG-1. The Gould had they had a personal shield that would stop like blasts and stuff like that. But something like a knife or a bow and arrow was under the threshold of energy to stop the shield. So they were still vulnerable to being stabbed, but not being shot. Let's assume that Star Wars shields work on that premise, and that explains the bombers and the slow speed. They could get through the shields of the ship without going splat up against them. Okay.
This is where I have a firm belief of suspension of disbelief. I don't want to know all that stuff. I want to enjoy the movie for what it was.
I do too. Don't get me wrong. I want to enjoy it for what it is. But this is stuff that's established in, we've seen take out their shield generators on top of the Star Destroyers. Okay, well, why wouldn't the shields protect the shield generators?
Actually, that's a common misconception.
What's that?
In Return of the Jedi, you see that little bubble on top of the Star Destroyer being blown up, and then the Imperial says, "We've lost our forward shields," or something like the forward shields for the thing. That was those big brown balls on the thing on the Star Destroyer are actually these sonar sensors or whatever the conning sensors. I forget exactly what they're called, but they have nothing to do with the what do you call it, the shields. So
are you sure on that?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Because remember, did you ever play the X-Wing game?
No, I did not.
On PC? You had to go and destroy the shield generators on the Star Destroyer, and those were the shield generators on the Star Destroyers.
Where I got this from was there's a Reddit group called Maw Installation, and they're for in-universe answers to all your Star Wars questions. So if you have a question like how many Imperials were there, that's where you'd go because they would actually answer that question in universe, not say like, well, the director wanted to have this many people, blah blah blah. They would actually say, well, according to Wikipedia, and this is where they do a lot of research on this.
Okay, I'm just going on what was said. Am I not me again? Okay, I can't get through this call. Just so you know.
Okay.
I can't make it through this call because the battery's going to die on my phone. Okay. And when I plug it in on the PC, I lose audio.
Well, if you want, you can try and hook in through your PC if you want to, but
it's
Ranger and
I. So anyway, Ranger, what do you think?
Yeah.
I thought the movie was great. I don't really analyze anything in Star Wars and trying to find scientific fact in it because you'll just hurt yourself. Like dropping bombs in space. It's like, wow, they don't just free float, they fall straight down. Yeah, I don't you try to analyze that stuff. I shut that part of my brain off and just try to enjoy the movie because you just hurt yourself.
That's where I am. I love the movie. I thought it was a great movie. It was a great send off to Skywalker. It was perfect for him. I couldn't have been happier for the send off they gave him.
Yeah, I thought that was cool. I mean, he said bye to Princess Leia, and then he went out there and to face her son. So,
I'm back. So now you don't have to see my face. So you're all thankful for that.
The blue hearing is back.
I love what I actually really liked Luke's storyline in this. I hate the criticism that they're getting for it, saying that it's out of character and all that. I think it's perfect for him. I really thought he did the Luke always had, as a character, he always had the conflict in him. And here's this guy, he saves the universe, he does all this great stuff, and we have to take what happens in between those years. He's a supremely confident guy, and then all of a sudden he realizes that his own nephew is turning under his nose, and he's scared. He's still human. He might be a Jedi. He's still scared. Fear leads to anger. Anger leads to hate. Hate leads to suffering. Suffering leads to the dark side. We all know that.
Woo-hoo! Oh,
right,
sorry.
right. So in this case, Luke's own fear of failure led to the downfall of it, and I thought that was very poignant in the movie.
I think there's a lot of criticisms of this move of The Last Jedi that are completely unwarranted. I want to go over a couple of things that I really liked. I love that fight scene with Rey and Kylo in the throne room.
That was
awesome with the Praetorian guards.
Yes,
that was probably the best part of the movie.
That was, I mean, just as compared to the sort of static lightsaber fights we got in the original trilogy, not much choreography or anything like that, as compared to the dance routines we had in the prequels. This was just a full-on, brutally shot, gorgeous version of what a lightsaber fight should be. It was great. I loved that scene.
Right.
And just I mean, colorful, with the red color with that background and Snoke's lair, the whole thing just was just fantastic to watch.
I love how that background slowly catches on fire and burns down the whole thing, and next thing you just see like this big canopy of space.
Right. It sort of just strips away everything, all the pretentiousness of it, and laid everything bare.
Okay. All right. Let me list another thing I love, and we've already mentioned it briefly. Holdo's ram into the enemy fleet. That was fucking phenomenal. It was great.
It was, and the way it's done. I actually saw a story on it today that they had AMC had to post a sign outside of the movie theater because of the fact that it goes silent after that. Had to put in there, hey, this is part of the movie. No, the sound didn't cut out on the movie.
Oh my god.
People are stupid. And
See,
and
the one time Star Wars uses science.
Exactly.
The only time
they get it right.
They ever use science, it's like, well, you wouldn't hear anything because it's space. The one time they use it, then people are going, well, the sound kicked out.
Yeah. Well, I mean, no music, no nothing, which I absolutely agree with the whole cut, and as Jedi, we'll go back to our gravity discussion. As I said, if they didn't have the music in a number of those scenes, it would have been so much better. In the theatrical cut.
There's one thing that's very interesting. We keep talking about science and how that's the one scene where they actually use science. But when you think about it, even A New Hope, you had wings on an X-wing that folded into an X, right? What was the purpose of that since they can't actually use those wings in space?
Oh, I agree. Well, you can say that the X-wings are supposed to be in-atmosphere fighters, but then again, we see TIE fighters doing it. So why does it fucking matter? It doesn't.
I know, but
It just looks really cool.
Well,
I
it's
know
like that.
that's my point to a lot of the people who talk about, oh, the physics aren't right about this, or we have Neil deGrasse Tyson saying BB-8 can't roll in sand. Who cares?
Right, and it's Star Wars. It's Star Wars physics. I'm good with it. I don't care.
Exactly.
Well, there's two things. One, I mean, I know the reason why there was no sound in that scene is because it was for effect. It had nothing to do with science or anything. They wanted the effect of the fact that the rebellion lost a massive ship. And that's why there was no sound.
Well, not just a massive ship, their last ship.
Yeah, so that's why there was no sound. And on the other thing, on Neil deGrasse Tyson, I at one point I thought he was actually kind of cool until I realized it's like, no, he's just a science dick. That's all he is.
I love listening to when he's giving out like a speech or some of the stuff like that, some of that stuff. But like some of his Twitter stuff and all that, it's like, dude, stop being so fucking pompous.
Yeah, and that's what he is. I mean, I thought he was cool at one point, and I liked reading the stuff that he, said and all that. And now it's just he's a pompous dude.
He comes across pompous in a lot of interactions. I'll agree with that.
I think somebody said it best. It's like, he's one of those guys that you would say, good morning. Well, for 2.5 million people, it is good morning. But what about the other 5 million people in the world? It's afternoon. It's like, Jesus Christ, dude, it's just a good morning.
There was a little bit more to that tweet, but you know what?
Yeah.
Let's move on. Let's move on to.
Well, can we before we jump off of the calamari of that scene?
Okay.
One of the big criticisms that I've seen people throwing at the Last Jedi that I think is completely unfounded is, oh well, why do you even need ships then? Just strap a hyperdrive engine onto a rocket and crash it into a ship. Okay, couple of things there, and we're going to stay in universe canon. And I'm still waving my hands around like you guys can see me. Just so you know. Couple of the things with that are, number one, okay, just using suicide battering rams to decimate a fleet is gonna be really, really, really fucking expensive. Okay, because yes, while Snoke's dreadnought is massive, 60 kilometers wingtip to wingtip, I think is what the thing said. It's monstrous.
Well, his dreadnought, by the way, houses a fully capable engineering place. It's like its own.
They can build Star Destroyers inside it.
Yes.
Right.
There's 30 Starbucks. The place is huge.
So you've got the massive ship. I get it. The Mon Calamari cruisers are not small vessels. Okay, they're still 3.5 kilometers in length. They're still pretty freaking big. So, it's not like it's an X-wing. It's still a big ship with a lot of mass. So, in universe, it can overwhelm the shields and crash through at that speed. And so, whereas a smaller ship can sort of just bounce off the shields. So we'll take that as an exception there. And again, you're not going to do it because big ships cost a lot of fucking money. We all know money's still important in Star Wars, and you're not going to just buy a big cruiser to just ram it into something. Comments?
I agree.
I think it's short-sighted of people to criticize the movie on that when there are some legitimate things to criticize it on.
Okay, let's talk a couple criticisms then. Let's go around the table. Ranger, Tom, you first. Who is the weakest character in the entire movie?
Well, number one is going to be the Porg, because I didn't like that thing.
I mean, actual character, not side piece.
No. I'm laughing at something that I remembered when I was watching the movie. That it finally dawned on me. It's like, oh, yeah, that race is Mon Calamari. I wonder if they know that's a seafood dish. It like finally dawned on me when I'm sitting there in the movie. It's like calamari. Hey, wait a minute. I've watched Star Wars I don't know how many times, and it finally clicked. It's like, what's seafood?
You want to hear something funny? Just on that, the guy who did Rogue One, no, Dave Filoni, who's like the master of all Star Wars, like all canon of Star Wars, said somebody asked him on Twitter what Admiral Raddus's status was, and he put up their fried calamari on the on his Twitter feed.
I mean, I wasn't a fan of the girl who was an electrician or something. Rose. I wasn't a big fan of her. But there was seemed like a bunch of disposable heroes, and I'm trying to remember their names at this point. But they were just like characters. It's like, we really could have done without that character, and it would have been perfectly fine. And the other one that's like, and it irritates me because I look over here and I can see the pop figure right there. It's like the weakest character was probably Captain Phasma.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah, no purpose.
Let's get back one to Rose. What was? I love how she goes from lowly mechanic to fighter pilot at the very end.
Right. When did she get flight training? That's all I'm asking. You can at least accept Finn had it as part of his stormtrooper training.
Right.
But her I didn't hate the character per se, but she was again, all of it was all the plot contrivances, all the stupid stuff that was the story side of it seemed a lot of it to fall around her and Finn. It's like they had no idea what to do with them for the entire movie, other than some harebrained scheme that Poe came up with.
Do we even want to talk about Poe and Holdo and what could have just been, easily explained?
I don't know, like a 5-second conversation.
I mean,
other than her pulling rank on him and saying, "Do what I say," and that's it, rather than saying.
I understand all this thing about how she's an admiral. She doesn't have to explain to a captain who just got demoted. I get that, but she could have said something like, "We know what we're doing. Back off."
But she also knows why he was demoted. She knows that he's this
hotshot
wild card, hotshot asshole. Exactly. That's a perfect description of him, and he fucks everything up in this movie.
Yes, he does.
He's the reason for a lot of this fuckery. 5 seconds of dialogue would have saved all of that, and it wouldn't have given them anything else to do with the rest of the movie. Which
is why they did that, because then they would have been wasted characters.
Right.
Well, I honestly thought she was going to end up in. I was trying to go off of the algorithm of 4, 5, and 6. And I was thinking, it's like, okay, you know what? This is a middle movie. It's like, she's kind of a jerk. It's like, I'm thinking maybe she's probably going to be like an Imperial spy or somebody in the rebellion, because she kind of came across that way. And for a little bit there, it's like, yeah, she's going to betray the rebellion or something. But her part wasn't really that big. I mean, I don't know.
She
needs to go back to studying dinosaurs.
Honestly, something like that, a spy or something like that, I think would have been a better plot line than this contrivance of, we're tracking them through hyperspace. Yes, I know it was set up in Rogue One, but okay, we got to go find this code breaker off on this planet, and let's shoot off to over here, and then come back, and maybe he can get us into this one spot on the ship, and we can get around all this. And there could have been they could have done a similar storyline that could have had they were chasing an Imperial spy to that planet that was giving them the locations. The story was the first episode of Battlestar Galactica, 33 minutes. Remember where the Cylon fleet was tracking them through the jumps.
Yeah.
Right.
Had you followed that plot line, it would have been fantastic because that was a great story. Something along those lines. Something where there was something actively doing it other than the MacGuffin of, oh, they've figured out how to track us through hyperspace. But we've got the Imperial trader and a mechanic who says who sit there and bounce back and forth and, oh my god, we figured out how it exactly works, and my god, it fucking does. It was pulling straws out of midair on that whole, anything that wasn't Rey and Luke was sort of just pulled out of thin air to sort of fill in around the rest of the story.
And that's why they did it, though, because they couldn't have these major stars characters do nothing for the entire show, entire movie.
Exactly, yeah, but you could have written something better.
Right.
I feel like they were just putting people in the movie and giving them parts just to put people in the movie, giving them parts. It's like, oh, well, I want to be in the plot of the movies before, Disney starts turning it into their own thing. And like Laura Dern, her character was completely useless, in my opinion. All the people that wanted to do cameos as stormtroopers, not necessary. I was waiting for Antonio Banderas to sell me a Heineken. It just...
You mean a lot of Benicio del Toro?
Yeah, but see, in the commercial, for Heineken, he gets mistaken for Antonio Banderas.
I have not seen that.
I've never seen the commercial.
Yeah, they go, the tourists go up to him. It's like, "Can we take your picture?" And he goes, "Yeah," and he holds a thing and go, "Antonio Banderas."
But, honestly, if I ran into the two of them at a bar, I probably wouldn't be able to tell them apart.
But I just feel like
I understand the tourist mistake.
Yeah, I just feel like, a lot of these people that they were given parts to, it was pointless. It's like, you didn't even need to be in a movie, man.
They could have taken all of that and made a better storyline. They could have had, I saw somebody on Reddit, and again, this is 5-minute armchair story writing, was something to give Phasma more to do other than die.
Or get thrown down a garbage chute.
All right. Well, fall down, down a garbage chute in the last movie into a flaming pit this time.
After she gets her ass kicked.
Right. They could have had her trying to, cut a deal or something, at the casino, and the rebels were chasing her to try to get the codes or something that would have involved more than just this sort of random side trip that happened. You could have woven all of that more together, given her a bigger part, shown her as more than just, okay, she's obviously cool because she has chrome armor. But she was the ultimate trying to create a Boba Fett deliberately.
Oh God, that character still makes me so angry.
And okay, yes, yeah. I get that. There's all the other media and all that. I shouldn't have to watch that to enjoy a movie. No offense, your movies are your bread and butter. The books are secondary. I shouldn't have to know the books to understand what a character's doing.
Right.
Dude, there was just so many just useless characters and useless actors that were just put in there. It's like, oh, it's like, you're making a movie. It's like, I'm going to put my cousin in there. I'm going to give him a part. It's like, yeah, you're going to be this guy. Yeah, your character is completely useless. Unless they're putting these actors in these parts for Disney trying to plan in the future. It's like, oh, hey, well, maybe if this character turns out to be really cool, we can do a backstory movie on, on this Codebreaker guy, and Benicio del Toro, he can have his own movie, and Laura Dern can have her own movie where she goes and discovers dinosaurs. It's no, man. It's irritating.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Let's move back onto the positive. What would y'all have thought of a lot less on the fleet, focus on the fleet, and more focus on what goes on that island planet?
Yeah.
It would have been about half a movie, though. That's the only problem. We saw what we needed to see on that. The interactions between and we haven't touched on it, but the interactions between Rey and Ren, you know, the binding of their characters was fantastic. You know, the whole bit between the two of them, you know, leading up to the throne room scene was great. I really enjoyed that, and you know, more of that. Something it captured the essence of what was supposed to be there, but there's just all this other fluff that was around it that sort of detracted from it.
Right. One of the best. Oh my god! I just had a mental image of the titty milk.
Oh.
Well, at least you know where blue milk comes from, I guess.
Well, this was green.
Yeah, that was the green milk.
Oh, is that green milk? I thought it was blue.
The blue milk was bantha milk.
Green. That's why the joke is the next movie is going to have red milk.
Oh, dude, seriously?
Oh, in the next movie, they just milk they milk hippos. Hippos' milk is pink anyway. So there you go.
Yeah, right, but that was one scene. It was like, really, was that necessary? Do we have to see this?
I thought it was great. I thought the whole idea of the way Luke dismissed Rey, and it was just that was his way of trying to another one of his trying to get rid of her.
He also looks at it. Keeps walking.
All right, okay. Well, another question. Yoda.
Love the Yoda scene. I did love that part.
That was my favorite part of the whole movie. Favorite part of the whole movie right there.
But the books were in there. It's like, yeah, page turners they were not.
that was the Empire Strikes Back crazy Yoda guy that we had. I loved.
And that's the Yoda that we should see. As much as yes, he was in the prequels and all that, I didn't like knowing that Yoda. I liked Yoda hitting Luke on the head with the stick. Yoda, that was the fun Yoda, and his parts in this were, you know, it was just perfect. And the little foreshadowing he did with, you know, nothing she needs is she has all she needs out of there. And then in the end of the movie, you see she has the books with her.
I know she took the books on the Falcon. I didn't catch that the first time I saw the movie, but somebody pointed it out. Then I caught it the second time.
Yeah, I have not seen it a second time to catch all the details. Can I just say that Chewbacca was underutilized in this movie?
Oh my goodness! Somebody pointed this out, and I didn't really believe it until I went back and thought about it. That all the Resistance, all the Rebel heroes that we grew up with are either gone or underutilized or making cameo appearances.
Right.
You're not gonna. I think once they're done with this, you know, this plot after the 9th one, you know that Rey's not going to be in it because she's come out and said that she's ready to move on.
Well, yeah, she also said that she wouldn't mind a pile of cash if they are offering. So
yeah, I thought she had sort of backed off on that statement.
But like all the characters that we grew up to know and stuff like that, they're not gonna be around.
You know, it sort of makes sense. I mean, honestly, you know, Carrie Fisher's dead, unfortunately,
and they're wanting to tie up the plot, the Skywalker plot. So
hold on, hold on, whoa. You mentioned that she's dead in real life. You know, she died in the movie because she got sucked into the vacuum of space, and then somehow
Force flew back.
Can somebody explain that?
No, I'm not going to explain
it. she let's just say she learned some of the Force from Luke. She is Force sensitive. She's a Skywalker. So I don't have a problem with that part necessarily. People can survive in the vacuum of space. Again, go back to Battlestar Galactica. Remember, they had to jump from the outside of the Galactic airlock into a Raptor.
Okay, but first of all, that was only 10 seconds. She was out there for a few minutes.
No, she was only out there for 30 seconds. You wouldn't die necessarily in 30 seconds. Look at Guardians of the Galaxy. Look at
12 seconds.
Gamora
12 seconds.
Guardians of the Galaxy.
You'll last before you die.
And she developed a system for thrust. That was the best part.
Yeah,
She's
exactly.
a Jedi. Luke was levitating. Do we have a problem with Jedi levitating?
Okay.
He was on a place with gravity.
We've already determined that gravity isn't a big fucking deal in Star Wars.
Why did I just say that?
Okay, I have no real problem with Princess Leia coming back from the dead, from being blown out to the airlock into space and coming back from dead. I just wish they would acknowledge the reason why. Just tell us why it happened. I don't care what the reason. Just tell me why.
I mean, I just assumed it was she had learned some tricks from Luke. That's all I assumed. That was my go-to. I leaned over to my wife and said that.
I just tried not to think about it because I didn't want to hurt my brain.
But I'm sitting there saying, why did we even have to have that scene? You could have literally had her die at that point, and it wouldn't have been a problem. Everybody would have been good with it.
Yeah.
But I'm guessing they didn't want to kill 2 Skywalkers in one movie.
Well, they're going to have to. I mean, she's dead. They're going to probably kill Kylo. It's just.
Well, do you think that then in the final movie they will kill him, or will he finally change, or is he been submitted now that he's, taken the Sith road of killing the Master?
I think that it could go either way. I mean, you'd think that he killed his father in cold blood, not like he was fighting in a battle or anything. He literally ignited a lightsaber into his chest and killed him. And then he's part of. He doesn't kill his mother, but he thinks his mother's dead, and he kills Snoke. And he's a petulant child at this time.
Right.
Okay, let's You brought up an interesting thing that I wanted to segue to. One of the a lot of the complaints about this movie are that you didn't have too much time between the movies. So this is the first Star Wars movie, an actual sequel, like an actual numbered sequel, that we've actually gone from one movie to the next within minutes. So you had Episode 7 end, and then almost immediately Episode 8 starts.
Right.
Whereas the other movies, 1, 2, and 3, and 4, 5, and 6, there were always a couple years between the movies.
Right.
So I've never seen that before in Star Wars, and I thought it was fantastic. But I don't think I think the next one, the third movie, Episode 9, is going to take place 4 or 5 years later. Both the armies are going to be built up again, and they're going to have to go at it. And Rey and Kylo are going to have to go at it, and I'm not sure how it's going to end. I would love to see that Kylo returns to the light side, but it feels like he needs to be banished like Luke, and kind of goes off into La La Land,
again, for all the faults of the movies, for the movie, like I said, overall, I really enjoyed it, and the way it sort of thumbed its nose at the history of at the history of Star Wars, and the way the continuations of the plots that we've always seen. This is uncharted territory for where we are. I don't know what to expect. So I like that.
So do I, and that's why I was completely happy with the way Luke Skywalker was one with the Force. He didn't go out fighting. Nope. He used his Force powers to literally troll Kylo Ren, and just died of exhaustion with the Force.
Yeah. Well, did he even die? He just sort of Ben Kenobi Yoda'd, ascended to a higher plane, so to speak.
Right, but when you think about it, Obi-Wan went down in a blaze of glory. He sacrificed himself so Luke could get away. Obi-Wan, right. Yoda died of old age, so Luke was he just kind of made himself one with the Force.
Go back to Kenobi. He didn't even. Vader never really even cut him down. He was gone before Vader cut him, so to speak.
Right.
Because his robe just falls down empty.
Which is essentially, you could say, the same way that Luke
went out. Exactly. Exactly. I think there's a nice parallel there.
Okay. I mean,
So
but still,
it'll be
still the
interesting.
point was that he sacrificed himself so Luke could get away. It wasn't
Right.
like he just said, "I'm going to sit there and I'm going to die in peace." You know, he
Right.
wanted to
Well,
die
he
on
did. He
purpose.
put his lightsaber down and dropped his saber and everything else, and Luke, while not directly facing Ren, did the same thing again, so the rebels could escape. There's a huge parallel there between their two passings.
Right.
That is a kind of cool parallel there as well. Is that Luke eventually did follow in the realm of his master. When it comes to that.
I mean, honestly, I was really excited for 8. 9, I was excited to see it, but like before, I bought my tickets in like April timeframe as soon as I could. But this time it was like, I'll see it 2 days after it opens up. I think at this point, I'm actually just ready for this plot to finish, so they can move on to other characters that are in Star Wars canon universe. So
Right.
I think that's where I'm at right now. It's like I'm ready to see how this one ends, so they can move on to something new.
I want to see new stories.
Yeah.
I want transition to be over with. I enjoyed Rogue One for what it was, other than the fact that the characters were.
Oh, my daughter hates that. My daughter hates that movie. Everybody dies.
Well, I don't care that everybody dies. It's that everybody, everybody was a caricature. And
Yeah.
I don't know if we ever did Rogue One justice when we talked about it. Did we do a whole episode on that? I don't remember.
I don't remember that either. I think we did.
We probably did, but I loved Rogue One for being the most Star Warsy Star Wars movie of Star Wars. But the characters were absolutely forgettable. I mean, can anybody name anybody other than the main, Krennic, Urso, and
Cassian?
Cassian?
K2SO.
Okay, K2SO.
Chumway.
What was the guy who played Bodhi Rook, who was the Imperial pilot. Then you had what was the guy?
How many times have you seen the movie?
Huh?
How many times have you seen it?
I don't remember, but I saw it this morning because I was playing with my R2.
Exactly. So not a fair answer there. But in general, the characters were pretty much paper thin in the movie, unfortunately.
Well, you don't spend a lot of time with them before they, go on their suicide mission.
Right. But they, each one fit into a convenient plot, block, I guess. But whereas in Rogue One, I mean, in Last Jedi, you have a different problem. You have great characters, but they have a crap story around them.
What's interesting though is they kind of came to a finale now instead of in 9.
Right, and I sort of felt like they needed. Again, I don't necessarily argue with that decision. I think it's a good way to, again, jettison the baggage of the Skywalker story, of the Empire and the Rebels. All this stuff that was sort of brought along when you create new Star Wars stories. And now you have this baseline of literally a handful of people fighting the this galactic power that's survived and destroyed all of this, and that's going to be taking over. Like you said, I think this story, when it picks up, in episode 9, is going to be years in the future. I think that's a great call, because right now it's sort of at a nucleus of a new set of stories. which is a good place to put it.
And they gave Rian Johnson, the guy who did the Last Jedi, a whole trilogy to work with.
Right, because he's going to do, what is it, 10, 11, and 12 or whatever?
I don't think they're going to do 10, 11,
Or are they going to be
12.
numbered? I don't know. I mean,
But what I'm hoping, I know he said he's not going to be doing the Old Republic, maybe the Yuzon Vong War. Does anybody know?
Are we pulling more stuff out of the extended the legacy extended universe?
Yes.
So again, since his goal was to jettison baggage, because let's face it, going from the Force Awakens, going into Last Jedi, everybody's like, oh, they're pulling this from the legacy stuff. They're pulling this from Legends or the old EU. They were pulling in all this sort of stuff. Is Snoke, Darth, what's his name? Darth Plagueis that was mentioned in the OT. Oh well, in the extended universe, Han and Leia had the two kids and
boy and a girl.
And Kylo Ren's story sort of parallels their sons' adventures and all that. And all that was stuffed into an airlock and jettisoned with all this. So, I don't know where it's going to go, and that's a good thing.
I'm just ready for it to move on to, other stuff. And there was so much they could have done with some of these characters, man. It's like Snoke.
Yeah.
You couldn't have gone more in depth about him. It's like, they even, you can even read and, like the ring he has, part of the ring is the fortress that Darth Vader.
Yeah, on Mustafar.
Yeah, and it's like, okay. It's like you couldn't do more with this character. It's like, oh, he's dead. Well, that was quick.
That's another part that a lot of people have thrown at it that I don't really. It doesn't matter to me. I don't care, because he's got as much characterization as the Emperor did in the original trilogy. He got as much screen time as the Emperor did, and okay, he's the bad guy. He somehow organized all of it. I can take it as as what it is. He's the bad guy MacGuffin on it. Because you didn't, when you watched Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. Well, at my age, when you watched Return of the Jedi, because in the original theatrical release, he wasn't even in the Empire Strikes Back I saw in the theater.
Yes, he was. Does he do that hologram?
I thought in the original Empire Strikes Back in the theatrical release, you never saw him. You saw Vader talking to him, but you never saw that hologram.
You did. You saw it
in the theatrical release.
At the theatrical release, yes, I have it. I will let you watch it sometime.
I'll go back. I have a VHS player still here, and I still have the original unaltered trilogy on VHS somewhere.
Do you have a Betamax tape also?
No, I do not. I just have VHS. I do not have Laserdisc. So
okay,
but I'll go back and check and see maybe at some point. But again, that's also memories from an 8-year-old me, not necessarily 100% in my head. But I remember seeing the Emperor in Return of the Jedi. As he'd been referred to, but you hadn't really seen much of him at that point. So seeing Snoke is kind of the same thing. Okay, we didn't know how the Emperor came in until the prequel trilogy came in and ruined all of that. So.
All right. Well, I think we're going to cut it right there. I'm looking forward to episode 9. I loved episode 8. And I loved episode 7. I love all Star Wars.
Pretty much.
I'm not. Again, as much as I've sat here and complained about it for the last 45 minutes or whatever we've been doing, I enjoyed the movie. I do want to go see it again at some point. And it was fun. It felt like a Star Wars movie. and it was, I really do like where we are and what's going to go from here.
Well, I guess this.
Go ahead.
Oh no, go ahead, finish. I'm just.
Yeah, and to all the haters out there, go fuck yourselves. Get over it. It's Star Wars.
I mean, but for the record, I guess the reason I feel the way I do about this one is I have to remind myself that, okay, we went so long, without having that continued, when The Force Awakens was announced that it was coming out, that was a huge hype, and it lived up to that hype, and it was that great feeling. It's like, yeah, Star Wars is back. This one, in no way, shape, or form, could compete with the feeling you had when the other one came out. It's its own, it's a continued Star Wars movie, but that kind of makes sense. I mean, you already knew it was coming out, right. So
I think
it doesn't have the same feel.
I think part of that is Disney milking it. Let's be honest here. We had Rogue One. We've never had an off-year Star Wars movie, so to speak. When we saw the originals, when we saw the prequels, there was 2 to 3 years in between each movie, and it was sort of, we could sit there and there was nothing. There was no side media. There wasn't a TV show. There wasn't Rebels. There wasn't Rogue One. There wasn't anything else to sort of build into it. Now it's like, with Disney owning it, it's all Star Wars all the time. Let's beat this horse until it dies. There's no cycle there's no cycle for hype because it's always cranked up to 11.
No, it was still a really good movie. It just didn't have that that great feel that the other one did. But then again, you're not going to get that feel. It was still a great movie. It's still Star Wars.
You actually mentioned that. I'm glad you mentioned that, Tom. You're right. It didn't have that. Oh my goodness! This is the cheer moment when we're all cheering. Because you didn't have that one moment where the heroes finally win. The heroes get their asses kicked left and right.
I'll disagree with that. The battle scene with Rey and Kylo before they went at it with each other, but when they were facing off against the guards and Snoke's, and Snoke's cut in half, laying on the floor, and they're fighting the guards, I was like on the edge of my seat during that battle. It was like, this is what I came to see.
Right. But in The Force Awakens, we have them blowing up Starkiller Base and going, yeah, we did it, and head back, and we're all, Han Solo's dead, but everything else is great. There's none of that in The Last Jedi.
But you didn't have that in Empire either.
That's what I'm saying.
It's a bridge movie. It goes from one to the next, and for that, it excels. It did what it was supposed to do. So I don't have a problem with that. It still had really individually enjoyable moments, and as much criticism as I threw at the opening scene with the bombers and all that, it was a Star Wars space battle. It was still tense. It was still great to see. It was still X-wings flying around and shit blowing up, and that's what the movie opens with that, and that's what I paid to see. Just like with Rogue One, the last battle in Rogue One, that's what I came to see, and that's what I got, and damn everything else, that was fun.
You notice that the last two movies, and I'm counting Rogue One, the rebels get their asses, the rebels / resistance get their ass kicked over and over and over again.
Yeah,
repeatedly.
Yes,
but
I think
let's face it. When we saw the original Star Wars, hey, we've got this plucky resistance, but they've got all these starfighters, and hey, they just blew up a Death Star. Hey, Luke, what are you going to do? I'm going to Disney World. Okay, yes, he's now at Disney World, but that's another story. But you know what I'm saying? I mean, Star Wars ended with this plucky band of rebels, including. Okay, and for those of you who still say Rey is a Mary Sue, fuck you, and fuck you. Luke was a farmhand who had never flown anything, and he jumps in an X-wing and blows up a Death Star. Okay, you can't have much more of a Mary Sue than that, except for he has a dick.
Okay, first of all, you forget that Luke Skywalker targeted Womp Rats in his T-16. So
okay.
there.
Rey flew her little speeder thing and was an expert explorer. Okay, I don't care. Okay, again, you can take a guy who has a Cessna and flies around on the weekends, put him in an F-18, and he's gonna kill himself. Okay, and that's what they did.
Randy Quaid, paging Randy Quaid.
We're not bringing Independence Day into this. That's a whole nother clusterfuck. Okay.
You keep mentioning all these things, and I'm like, there's a movie about that.
This is true. But still, fuck Randy Quaid, fuck Independence Day, and fuck Will Smith. Just because.
All right. I gotta call time. We're over. Thank you, everybody, for joining us.
All right. See you.